there we are. And here's Gloria. It's perfect. There you are.
Hi, hello everyone. Little technical problem because I was on another Zoom meeting earlier and I had a hard time transitioning from one to the next. But I want to just say thank you, or welcome rather, to week 7. Thank you for attending, everyone. This is the series called Tips and Techniques for Writing, Publishing, and Marketing a Book. Today we're going to address another phase of this whole process, and then we'll conclude next week. And what we're going to talk about today is book marketing and book buyer psychology. We're going to talk about the differences between maybe having a website, a landing page, or, what is the difference, or should you even have one? And if you do want to have a website, what makes an effective website? And should each book have its own page? I mean, all these kinds of questions. And we've got 2 great experts with us. But before we begin, we want to make this as open as possible. So we're going to try something new. And for those of you who aren't familiar, at the bottom, you'll see something called reactions. If you look at the bottom on your navigation bar, and under reactions, I'm going to do it right now. Everybody click the raise hand. Can everybody click that? Raise the hand. And that means that if you have a question, or you want a dialogue right at that moment, or share an experience at that moment, raise the hand, and whoever's speaking at that time will see it and call on you to do so. And then when you're done talking, please remember to lower it so we don't keep calling on you. Or otherwise we'll keep saying another question. We keep doing it that way because we want you to be able to interrupt. We want this free flowing. We don't want it to be too much of a strong agenda. Just free flowing is going to be the agenda. But so how I'm going to start is I'm going to give you some background on both of our experts and then have them start out. The first one is going to be Dana Austin, who you see up there. Dana is founder and CEO of Dana Austin Speaks. She is author of Tea with Strings Vignettes, which reflects her love of people, travel, and all things tea. She also hosts a monthly global tea party, and I've attended them. They're wonderful. I think they're the last Sunday of the month, if I have that correctly. Yes. Perfect time for a tea at the end of a long week. In addition to her love of tea, she does host customized workshops for aspiring authors, so this can continue. Her company's signature Transformational Writers Conference is her platform with authors around the world. And I believe she's got one coming up in December in Puerto Rico.
Next week. Can you believe next week in December?
Next week. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
That's December.
Okay. And that's our Dana. Now we're going to go over to Professor Roberto Ancis. And he is CEO of Coaching Professors Incorporated, which is a consulting company providing strategic business and creative marketing advisory, sales reengineering, consumer buyer research, and psychology, and business metrics, and CEO of Coaching Professors. This is a company totally dedicated to online consultancy, advising foreign business how to enter the US market, and is co-author with his beautiful wife, Victoria, The Journey of Choices, City of Knowledge, along with his wife. He brings a vast array of marketing knowledge to help you determine your best website marketing. And what you're going to get from Professor Ancis is book marketing and book buyer psychology. We're going to talk about landing pages, websites, pros and cons, and how to make it all effective. That's a bundle right there. So I'm going to turn the baton over to Dana, and she's going to begin by talking about the websites versus landing pages.
Okay, good afternoon and good morning for those of you who are chiming in from the East Coast, or evening from the overseas. I'm happy to be able to share this Thanksgiving week with each of you, and for this author series that Gloria has been leading out on. This is week 7 for the second session. And so when we talk about whether to use a website or a landing page, as an author, there's several things that Professor Ancis and I discussed prior to today that's necessary. I'm going to touch on a few, and I know some of it will flow as a conversation, as Gloria mentioned. But I would start off like, if this is your first book and you want to be sure that you brand yourself and your book, and this could be a whole presentation in itself, but I would say that your social media and your website or landing page should be similar and easy to find. And if it's your first book, I would suggest a landing page. And you say, well, what is a landing page, or why a landing page? Well, if you compare a landing page to a website is where you would go to find a lot about, in this case, the author or speaker and several of their books. And they may also host, have merchandise for sale, and they may have affiliate links and so many other things in that bundle on their website. Whereas a landing page is just one page with one focus, and that's to feature that item. So if you're coming out with your first book or even a subsequent book and you just want to market it and not have to have your target audience or even potential buy, standards that happen up on your page to go through everything, the about you and your blog page and all of that, then the landing page is a nice, crisp, clean focus of what it is you're offering. And you have a nice little summary about that particular book, and a place where you can gather information from the potential consumer, and you gather that information so you can create a list. And so it's also like a lead magnet. So you say, on my page, this is what we're offering, this is the book, here's a little summary. And if you want this information, you can enter your email address. We will respond, or they can purchase it. So it's just a nice, crisp, clean, focused, task-oriented page, simplified. So there's a beauty of having a landing page for that purpose. I could go on, but I want to allow some breathing room if you wanted to ask questions, or Professor Ancis wanted to contribute as well. Okay.
Yesterday, Dana, we talked about your wonderful book, and we spoke a lot about how important it is for the author of any book to be successful, to target the appropriate market.
Yeah.
What would you say is the target market of your book? For who would be a reader that would get a benefit from it?
For my book, Tea with Strings Vignette, Custom Cultures and Recipe, my target market is multifaceted. First of all, it naturally would be to those who have an appreciation for the art of ceremonies and teas, and to learn about culture and customs around tea. In particular, I would say business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs who are traveling, such as yourself. You spent some time in Tokyo. I know Doug has as well. And then you were invited as an honor to be a part of a Japanese tea ceremony. So to recognize, that it is an honor, and then what's required of you as a guest, to be able to not just attend, but to remember to bring a host gift, to be mindful of the history that goes along with it. So I would say that my book is focused and targeted to tea lovers, those appreciate culture and customs, and then that you want to also etiquette, the art of etiquette. Mm-hmm.
And how would you move? Great! I just love your book, but and what's behind it. But since today we're talking about Gloria, she was very helpful yesterday. She's
yes.
a Monday master ceremony. She's fantastic. Give us some questions. So relating to the question of Gloria, how would you reflect that you just said in a website, because it can't really be done in a land page? What are your thoughts? How would you structure your website for that?
So to structure the website, I've got some really good pointers. The beautiful thing about when we have these series, there's conversations that take place ahead of time, which is nice. And I'm appreciative of that as well, Professor Ancis. Certainly featuring the book, making it a feature, and also doing a little summary of the benefits of purchasing the book, gifting the book. And then, as you shared with me, is to have pictures of various ceremonies, which, you know, since we've hosted several tea parties with the Global Chamber this year and last year, and it was featured on different regions of the world and how you do business, and to be mindful of that, those pictures would be helpful, because then it would be appealing to that audience, or those who want to travel, or even if they don't want to leave their own state or country, they can travel through this book and appreciate culture, customs, and I would say build a greater understanding of people and find a place to connect.
Mhm.
Good question. Okay, so that's what I would speak to. And so the website would be where you can have more information.
Mhm.
And I'm going to kind of volley it back to you in that regard. So with Dr. Ancis, Professor Ancis' books, and the one he wrote with his wife, and maybe other series of information, and he's also coaching, his would benefit from a website because he has several things that he offers. And then how do you appeal to your audience with the several offerings that you have? We'd be interested to hear that, Professor.
Yeah, and in talking to Professor Ancis yesterday, he definitely goes even deeper. And I think that, and he made me think deeper than I had previously thought as I put together my own book websites. And there's such a marketing psychology here that we really do need to hear that. I was kind of sidestepping it, but after listening to him Monday, I thought, oh, you cannot sidestep that.
I know.
So you cannot. So anyway, it's an education for me. And so I'm going to point the baton back to Professor Ancis, if you could share with everyone what you shared with me about the whole marketing psychology before you even going into the expense and time of developing a website for your book or author book.
Absolutely. Gloria, thank you again. And today, tomorrow being Thanksgiving, I want to really extend my thanks to Doug and the Global Chamber and Cesar. Absolutely outstanding individuals, incredible colleagues. And thank you, Gloria, for creating it. This is your baby. We are just being the babies you're growing up. This is absolutely awesome. And Lainey and everybody else, and Alex and Jacqueline and so forth. So in our book, we talked about a couple of chapters about the comfort zone. What is the comfort zone and how do we get stuck in the comfort zone? And authors get stuck in comfort zones. They get stuck on the typewriter or the computer thinking that by writing a book, the book is going to be reaching everyone. Well, that's not necessarily true. So what I'm going to do this morning, I'm going to be stretching your comfort zone a little bit. And first, I'm going to lead you outside of the comfort zone and talk about things that typically authors may or may not. Now, I know Alex, superior consultant, international and domestic, probably knows this stuff and he can lecture better than I do. But I think it's important, since these conversations are being recorded, for all the other authors who cannot be actually here today, for them to listen. Let's talk about consumer psychology. Do you have, can I show something on my computer, show my screen? Am I allowed to do that? Or let me just see if I can. Oh yes, absolutely. Can you guys see this screen? Okay.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, okay, that's perfect. And actually, this is, let me go back up. Okay. So one of the things I want to show is when you write the book, how do you start writing the book? Obviously from your insights, your critical thinking, your experience, your expertise. But if you want a book to be purchased, the question is, should you write a book from your point of view, or should you write your book from the point of view of the potential buyer? And the question is, in consumer psychology, and I've taught that for so many years, and that's why clients hire us, by the way, is to really fix the brand. So let me ask Lainey, for example, let me ask you a question. what do you think is the basic tenet, the basic reason behind decision-making by buyers? Why, when you go and buy something, what is the motivation behind your purchase?
What, one is that you are searching for some kind of information because you have an issue that you don't know enough about. So you're looking for information, or you're looking for a distraction or amusement, which I suppose would be solving a problem of you're feeling bored and you're looking for something new. It all comes back to there's something missing for the buyer, and they hope your book is going to fill in whatever's missing.
Awesome. That's very true. So how is the need to buy come to reality? What is, because it's like, for example, I see a Porsche, a 911, I love 911s, right? I see a 911 and my God, I drew, right? I want to own the car, I want to buy the car. But the reality is, I don't have any need to buy the car. So the question is, when people look at different books, because there's a tremendous amount of books. I mean, you go to a bookstore and you're overwhelmed by books. You go by categories. So when they look at all these books, how do you think is the need to buy that book that is yours come about? Let's say, Gwen, what do you think?
You're on mute.
It totally depends on, every book would have a different market, a different reason.
So let's say one of your books, which one is your book that you're featuring with us?
I'm an editor. So, for example,
Awesome.
the book that I'm working, that is just finishing up, is Professor Christine Pearson's book, Come Out Stronger, about crisis management. So she's addressing
Awesome.
people of organizations of all different sizes, people that know they have experienced crisis recently and they want to do a better job. So pretty broad audience, because everybody's affected by crisis lately, but
Absolutely.
normally
Absolutely.
would have been large organizations.
So when I'm looking at these 10 books on crisis management, what is that process that leads me to choosing that book, your book? Alex, you're an expert in this stuff here. What do you think is the element that creates the need to buy that, your book, not others? What do you think you can do to make that happen?
You know, that's a very good question. Oftentimes what happens is that, you know, we have different reactions at different levels depending on our awareness of what we want. And sometimes the first initial reaction is, you know, is it something I'm comfortable with? You know, and then my next reaction may be, is it something I'm comfortable with that I want to understand and still be confused? Right. So
Absolutely.
we still have that part. It's like the good news is we go from unconscious to conscious.
Yes.
And
Totally.
then we transition into a willingness to explore.
Totally.
And so that's the commitment point.
Yes.
You know, and of course, well, glad you asked that question, Dr. Ancis, because the book that I wrote is about decision making. You know? So there it is. It's the process. We have different levels of decision making that we engage in, and but when we understand when we're in inquiry versus commitment,
Yes.
It makes it more comfortable for us to explore.
Yes.
But if we're not comfortable with exploring, we become this sort of like detached observer, and we kind of like sit on the periphery, on the edge, and we really don't make a commitment. So the question is, how do you use that page in such a way that allows you to engage to the point where you become curious? And then from that curiosity, it becomes a transaction opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I hope I answered your question.
Oh, you actually set up the true scenario. And then now I'll link it in. This is after working for 35 years in consumer buying psychology and branding. I found out there is one major reason for which people buy, and it's not the need, because you need everything, but you don't buy everything. What we found out is that when the buyer connects the purchase to the solution of a problem they're experiencing, they purchase. So what is the basic foundation of any sale of any book? The question is, if on your website, you're not able to present properly in a believable manner the problem that the reader will receive by reading the book, you're not going to sell your book. People will choose something else. So remember, in consumer psychology, the solution of the problem of the reader or the buyer for other products is the most important element existing. So ask yourself, really, what is the, and in some other words, sometimes that is expressed in what I call benefits. What is the benefit that I read from reading your book? I'll tell you this, unless I'm flying overseas and I'm just totally bored to death and I'm gonna get some type of books, still, when I go and choose the book, it has to fit the kind of specific interest and needs that I have. So targeting, the first element of marketing, is the element that all authors should explore before even writing the book. Because after you've written the book, it becomes tracked back. It's, oh my God, I missed this, I missed that, I missed the other one. So in marketing, the first element is targeting. The second one is called positioning. Positioning is not putting your book on a shelf or your bedside. No, positioning is defined as the image that the book has. And an image can be created by benefits. And Gloria asked me such an incredible, brilliant question that I really had to think a lot the other day on Monday to answer. She said, should I have a site as an author or should I have the site as a book? Well, if this consumer psychology is correct, the process, it really doesn't make any difference about the author. As long as the author has some background reputation that is known, unless you are one of the president, vice president, or you are the head of a football team that succeeded. But typically, when I buy a book, I'm interested in what do I get after reading the book. So should I have an author website and a book website? Well, if you have money to spend, have both, who cares? But if you really want to sell your book, focus on your book. And my suggestion is on a website, don't put 10,000 books that you have, or 15 or 10. Typically, people make choices in groups of 3. So if you pick up a category, right, and you say category is, let's say, fictional novel, put your 3 books on it and describe them with different benefits from reading it. So you expand the globe. So people will buy them because of that. Okay, so groups of 3 on your website is really, really that important. If you have only one book, like I do, I only have one book. But then the question is, for example, what do people get out of reading our book, the one that Victoria and I completed? Well, very often, unless you get to the age of wisdom, which is the age of high age, unless you get to the age of wisdom, you really don't know what the heck you're doing most of the time. So you go and talk to your friend, go to your mother, go to your psychologist, talk to your CPA, talk to your barber, talk to your bartender, talk to everybody trying to say, what the heck do I do? The book that we had is the 13 rules of the game of life. That's really the content. It's called the journey of choices because it's your choice. But so when people look at our book, the question is, do I want to have some directions in my life? And that's what the book is about. So if you are able to transfer that information on your website, and the website, by the way, Gloria said, has to be active. What I mean, interactive. Have a blog, please. Have a video blog, an audio blog, have podcasts, a chat, have webinars, have videos, have interactive things, have a blog about people who read the book, or have a blog about the author desk or the author talking to the thinking behind it. Have a page with the background of the book. What did I write the book for? And put your benefits in it. Remember, people buy the book because they want to solve the problem.
Yes.
And in life, you have, this is really so important. You have saving time or using time. Saving time or using time. Saving time. So when you go on vacation, what you're doing, you're using time. And when you're working, what you're trying to do, be fast, save time. So time is a very important element.
Mm-hmm.
What are you offering in your book? What is the bottom benefit to the person who is reading? What is the messaging that is important? So that is the outside of the comfort zone, right? And I'm not going to get into the distribution. I'm not going to get to other stuff for the time being, but I want to just be quiet for a minute and allow back Dana and Gloria to take over. But that's really, when Gloria talk about website, talk about this, about that, there is something much beyond that. Something above that needs to be done by the author before, so that the consequential nature is not like Alex writing a book on decision making. My God, that will be a bestseller in the world. People have no clue how they make decisions. The only time, most of the time, they make emotional decisions. Like when they have interviews with people. You kidding? They read the resume. Well, the resume is a lie because it's been written by somebody else, so you can count. The person that comes over is being coached. If you ask me where you succeed, of course. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I'm a perfect person, right? So how do people finally make decisions about internal emotions? How do people choose to go to a particular foreign country? Because they have a relationship to the country. That's why.
Yes.
Because they did research. So it's so important to give the potential buyer a reason to buy your book, which is solving a problem. Gloria.
Yes.
Good segue to Dana.
Thank you for that. I mean, it's just so powerful when we can share from our experiences and be open to growth and knowledge, as Alex and Professor alluded to. And the one thing, the way that I've heard it presented also when considering if a consumer is going to purchase something, it's with the WIIFM, what's in it for me? So there has to be a benefit to the individual that's going to read or purchase your product. And that's important to allude to that even on your website, talking about what the benefits are. So if it's life lessons, like the 13 life lessons, the title of that resonates with me because I like to learn and not have to go through the experience to learn. I like to learn from other people's experiences as well. And if necessary, go through the experience. So I see that as a tool of wisdom and life. And then likewise, Alex was talking about his book on decision making. So clearly it's speaking to when someone may be having a difficulty arriving at a particular decision. And then what are the things, I'm sure, and you can confirm this because I haven't got your book yet, but what are the decisions that they have to make or the crossroads that they come to in making that decision? And I'm sure I like this one thing that Susie Orman teaches. Is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it good for you? So that's something I would ask in terms of purchasing, but not always. Sometimes I buy it because I just want to. And it's of added value to me, or I like it. So I would go with that. But yeah, definitely highlighting your one book in a landing page, features, simple, and you have a place, because this is speaking to your ability to brand yourself, to brand your product. And then you're showing up as a subject matter expert there, that you are the expert on that topic. You're the expert on resolution, finding a solution to a problem that you've identified, and they're going to come to you for that. You just want to be easy to find. I go into the website piece when you have more information. Like Professor said, on my website, I have a blog, all right? And it's interactive. You can comment. I don't have the video blog, but I thought, you know what? Let's add that. Let's make it more, because people want to connect with you. There, you'll find that as an author or even as an editor, they want to connect. And Gloria and I both have learned, every week I learn so much being a part of, or even on the panel from the series, on how we can always sharpen our tools and become our best version of ourselves.
Yeah, I want to add that I have 3 websites, so it sounds like overload, maybe, or the magic of 3, as Professor Ancis said. But this was back. I started these websites way back before social media and all these other mediums appeared. So yeah, I've been in my industry for over 30 years. And at the time, as a professional speaker, we were told back in the day, and I'm just going to share this because some of you might have the same experience, that I have a website as a speaker, and certainly the GloriaPeterson.com website is all about me as a speaker to be hired for conventions, etc. But I have on my navigation bar, I have a bar that says author. So it does introduce me as a speaker. People know me as a speaker, but it also introduces me as an author. Then I was told that because I have these books, they were supposed to have their own website. So I thought, oh, that's a lot of time and money again. So I did what I was told to do back then. And so I have a website that is the Art of Professional Connections, which is the umbrella title for a series of books. And that's what we were all told back then. We had to have a page that was strictly our name. Gloria Peterson is my name. That's the author name. And that's what the website should be. It should be yourname.com. And then you had to have a website that identified your book. I'm not too sure today you need all that. Like I was told I needed it back when I did create these. And that's kind of what I'm hearing here, especially when Dana talks about something as precise as a landing page. I've got probably put more money and time into what I really need.
Website.
And today I have to add more components to it, the video and all these other things, which again, time consuming, money investing. So for those of you, authors who don't have anything yet, I would probably follow Dana's advice and start with a landing page, maybe keep it simple and allow yourself to grow. So I'd like to do it this time. I know who else in this group actually has a website that's strictly the book or their name as the author website. Does anyone else have that? Raise your hand. Lainey does. Jacqueline, we haven't heard from you. Let's hear from you on yours and your experience.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really interested in what Dana has to say about the landing pages, because there's something called lead pages, which makes it easy for you to build out just one page. That's what it is. They're one-page websites, and you can create that for your book. I've had individual standalone websites. You can create those on some of these Weebly's, Wix, you name it, the template website things. You can do it on that too. And I've done that in the past as well. Currently under my JacquelineWales.com website, there is a book page. But listening to it this morning, my brain's going, yeah, you could have done a whole lot better with that one. So, there's a piece here, but there are options for building websites. And I have done over the years, because I started publishing back at the early 2000s. So over the years, I've had many iterations of what that actually looks and feels like. Testimonials, of course, nowadays is more videos. So you're adding videos, talking about your books, on and so forth. So that's another big piece of it. But to your point, Gloria, it is constantly changing. What we did 15, 20 years ago, you look at it now and you go, oh, what were you thinking? Well, clearly, we didn't have all the information we needed. So, there we go. But it is a constant evolution of what is the expectation around it. And I'm loving this conversation this morning. I specifically wanted to hear what everybody had to say. That's my experience. Yeah.
And the state of the art today, Jacqueline, if I may add to it, you're correct. Everything is changing. Today, the state of the art is book trailers. And what is really interesting is our IT guy back in New Hampshire has created an entire genre in the past 5 years for now New York Times books. And they had a trailer, like a movie trailer, and then what's really interesting is to make it more personalized. Some of the main characters are actually describing their role. and they're part of the website. So I'm talking about marketing. The truth is, if you are in a dark night without the moon, you're driving the car without lights, what's the chance of you hitting a black cat crossing the road? Right? So what am I saying? To be successful, you've got to be different. So get out of the comfort zone, be a trendsetter, and start utilizing those strategies. The other I'm actually the vice president of the Archaeology Center here in Northern Arizona. And I'm introducing whereby we are building the museum from an old museum to a virtual museum. You won't believe the participation from all over the world. If you introduce virtual reality to your website and make it real, you won't stop. You will have to have 10 prints out. So this is the evolution of technology. You're gonna keep up to speed. So remember,
Absolutely.
book trailers, main participants of your book trailers or speaking heads, and then definitely virtual reality. The ability for the reader to visualize what the book reading is going to be about.
Right.
So you can, and I'll tell you why. I'll explain to Gloria. When you look, and to Dana, when you look at the world, about 50 to 60, as much as 70%, depending on the target, are actually visual learners. Maybe 15, 20, 30% are audio learners. And analyzers, 30, 40% are text readers, but people don't really learn from reading. So that's why the ability to convert your book, which is a reading, right, into a visual experience. What do people do when read books, fantasy books? They actually visualize themselves to be in the story. So if we recreate that on the website, you're going to be very successful.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I see Erica's, excuse me for a minute. I know Erica's hand's been up for a while, so I don't want to sidestep you, Erica. You had a question or comment?
Yes, so I just wanted to add to what everybody's been saying here to say that I was just in a bookstore several days ago, and I was looking for three different types of books, literally, and you all have touched on it. And I just really want to affirm what you're saying is Professor Ancis said this in Standing Out from the Crowd. That is how I buy. So you have this multitude of books in a category. And for me, it comes to, does the title catch my attention? Does it seem genuine? And is it different? Does it just sound like, I don't know, I'm just going to spit out these ideas that have been around and put my name on it and hope for the best. So it's just, that's how I buy, is just the title. And I'll walk and I'll peruse the different shelves or the different tables and then hone in on those. And Dana's title and Professor Ancis, the title will resonate with me no matter what the subject or no matter what I need. So there was that comment. I just wanted to share that with everyone and reiterate what you've been saying. But I did want to ask Professor Ancis also, you're talking about the virtual reality piece. And I love that idea, you know, the book trailer, but I know enough technology to get by, and that's where I draw the line. So what are resources for, who would you look for to aid you in that process as you're starting, especially with your first book?
Yeah, what I would do is an old client that we're no longer working because we brought them from Mexico to the US and they were also in Canada. And I became so enamored in what they have been able to do by converting. Let me give you an example. When you go and buy art, typically you go to an art gallery, right, to look at the painting, to look at the statue. Well, they were able to reproduce with virtual reality the statue in a manner so that you didn't have to go to any gallery. And Artsy has actually bought the technology, and today some of the largest galleries in the world are using virtual reality to sell whatever they sell. So people are starting getting used to it. I'll be very glad to send you and everybody else. I'll send it to Gloria, and then Gloria, you can distribute it. I can actually send you the address and the email address of is a company called Prefixa. They're reasonable in price because they do work in Mexico. Absolutely wonderful people. I just love the customer service. They're there to help you. And so I'll be very glad to send you all the information. And if you need, give me a buzz. Gloria will give you my email address. But that's where the world is going today, especially in a COVID that is not going away. So the question is, how can we make that book more real in the mind of the potential buyer? And to me, from a consumer psychology point of view, simple. If you're unique and different, people will buy you. If you are the same as the others, well, then you have a lot of competition.
Yes.
And also, I would like to add something else. The cover of, I didn't talk about the product type, right? But we, at our book, our first version is going to be leather bound book with golden letters in Italy, and it's going to cost $1,000 a copy as a charter member, and we already have 75 people willing to buy it.
Wow.
So the question is, how valuable is what you produce? Some people just like to have, my God, look at this book, it's leather, they don't make it anymore, right? So that's one. Then you got the hard book, then you got the soft cover, then you got, of course, the ebook, you got the Amazon book, all sort of different things that you have. But really think very carefully your book strategy, because that's very important, and the price. To me, when people say I'm lowering my price to sell my product, that's a mistake. Premium products sell best. When you go, one of the clients I used to have, a painter in San Diego, from Italy, he lowered his price of his paintings down to $400. I said, you're crazy. Put them to $10,000. And we had a Johnny Lewis marathon whereby he donated. So he started selling at $10,000. And why? It's because people like to buy premium.
Yes.
People don't necessarily, now, if you don't have the money, of course, you got to go to, food for less or money for less or toy for less or whatever, or shoes for less. But typically, being a book writer, if your book has value, price it the price that you deserve. And that is something that in marketing is, if you are skimming the market instead of penetrating the market, skimming the market, you have to be unique and different.
I see, Jacqueline, you have your hand up again. Do you have another comment?
Yeah, well, talking about book trailers, back in the day when my first book came out, When the Crow Sings, we actually did make a book trailer, and it was based on the story, because it's a semi-autobiographical novel. And the woman that I gave the job to did a tremendous job on bringing, images and music and voiceover. All of that was added to it. It's on YouTube. I put the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to go take a look.
I'll go see it.
Yeah. It was very, very effective and really brought people into the whole storyline of the book that I had written. It's set in Scotland, so you've got some real gloomy, doomy stuff hanging out there on that trailer. But I for the following books, I haven't really done that. But to Erica's point, which was, there are people out there who will help you make videos, and if you're thinking about what are you trying to project here with that trailer, there's a way to do that. And it doesn't have to be really expensive either. There's a ton of apps out there that will also help do that. But I work with a video editing guy, and he's terrific. So you can find somebody like that to work with.
I have a little hint similar to what I said before about the problem, right? If you solve the problem, when you do a video trailer, please do not give answers. Raise questions. People buy your book to find the answer to the questions.
Yes.
It's like going to see the doctor. If the doctor says, oh, take an aspirin and go home, you're done. And he sends you a bill for $200, you get upset because it's a lot of money. But before you went was panic time. So remember, In my classes, I use the Socratic method of teaching at the university MBA. And with clients, you drive the conversation with questions. Because when people can leave, they won't sleep at night without having an answer. That's why news in the night is so well participating. So if you do a trailer, make sure that you raise questions. And then says, would you like these questions will be addressed? We are waiting for you. Something like that. Yeah? Just raise questions.
I like that point as well, Professor. I wanted to touch on two things. Jacqueline had brought up a couple of points, and then as far as the video trailers, I see the value in that. I've used that, and I have an incredible graphic artist. So he does video trailers, moving promotions. I shared the link in the chat, as well as copy the links from the rest of you. So getting yourself someone who's in tune with what you're trying to convey and who's skilled at it, to me, is worth its price in gold. And Jacqueline was saying that she gained some new insight from today's discussion and how she used to have everything on several different websites and so forth. And you mentioned a lead page. So you can start off your website with just a one pager and let that serve as your landing page, and choose to build it out later. This way you're not having to change different domain names and so forth. So there's one way to do it and simplify it. One page website, build it out later as you add more content, more about you, or the visual audio, because we are visual, mostly visual in terms of how we purchase. And so you want to, like you say, engage with the client and even go live on these social media platforms, and then you can plug those onto your website as well.
Erica,
the other term that you need to remember, Gloria, is called psychographics. Please remember that. People buy books based on psychographics. So when you go to Facebook and social media, look for the psychographic description of your target market, because that will sell your book. And then I'm going to leave it to you, Gloria. My apologies.
No, that's all right. I see Erica's hand up, and I didn't know if she had more to add because the hand didn't go down.
No, sorry, I forgot to lower it. And you said
I'm trying to make
that.
sure I keep up with all these hands. I made, just as a summary here, then I have to talk about next week and kind of wrap this up a little bit. Some notes I made, because I did it in the description. I came up, and because I have a author website and I have a book website, looking at the navigation, these are the 9 things for those of you interested in going in that direction that you should think about. First of all, you determine number 1, landing page or website, and full-blown website. What you're going to do, take into consideration the amount of time and money that's going to be involved that you have for that. Second, you need to select your platform, your domain, your theme, your navigation, how you want the navigation, all that to work. Certainly, you're going to work with the webmaster on that. There on your navigation at the top, there has to be about the author. And certainly if you wrote your book with a team of people, you also want to talk about your team and let everybody know who you are and who your team was and the contribution they made. That's what I've done. You want to also have one page that lists all your books. And if you have any upcoming releases, something new coming up. Now I do, but I haven't added that piece yet, but one that just lists all the books. And when you list your books, you want an overview of each book. You also want them to know where to buy it. Most of us are now just going to Amazon by default instead of trying to sell from our website, because when you sell off your website, you are engaging a lot of time in packaging that book, mailing that book. There's expense and time involved in packaging up your books and mailing them. And you have to decide whether you want to take that time to do. I did it for a while, and then I thought, boy, this is really time consuming. So now I just send them over to Amazon. So you just have to decide how you want to sell your book, and the visitor wants to know how to buy it, and make that easy for them to know. You want to have links to your social medias, all your social medias, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of your social medias need to be on that site. And again, a books, well, I alluded to this already, but there is a bookstore on your site that tells them how to get your book. And you definitely want a contact page. And that contact page should allow them to ask a question to get more information. That's just kind of an overview of some of the things that you would go over with your webmaster to have this done. And certainly anyone else has something to add to that, please do add it at this moment. And then I'm going to do a wrap. Anyone else want to add to that picture?
I think you summarized it really well, Gloria. The only thing that I would add is a consideration with cross promotion with other authors.
Collaborative.
Collaborate. You can have their book on your page and vice versa. And it's certainly if it's something that you support and it supports what you believe, make sure it lines up, that you're in alignment. That's the word we've been sharing this week, that you're in alignment. And so you collaborate and they can purchase. I have at least 2 books on my website for other authors, but it lines up with what I support and I believe.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Doug there. Are you there, Doug? Usually you have a closing comment to make or summary, just asking you.
I certainly can. I mean, I've really enjoyed the conversation and I've taken away a lot. Just a quick question, and maybe this is for Jacqueline, because she's maybe the most applicable here, is that, how do you handle the case where you have, like in Jacqueline, your case, where you have different books on different topics? We know you, Jacqueline, as fearless in business and amazing coach and all of that you do on the business side, and yet you've got books that cover other stories. How do you do the segregation, or do you, or at least how do you think about that?
Well, I think about it this way, Doug. A lot of my books have a lot of personal story in them. And so the first book, which is really about, it's a lot of family history, and it's about hope and redemption. That's really what it's about. And when you look at the Fearless Factor books, what am I offering there? It's kind of the same thing, the hope for the future, the ability to make changes, developing courage and confidence, all that good stuff. So I see that a lot of it is just, my brand is me. I mean, there's no question that, I'm not selling anything different than me. So I think it's all tied in to that extent. But of course, the focus right now is all on personal development at this point in my life. And the novel that was written back when people say to me after they've read it, oh, when can I expect the next one? I go, never. I'm not going there again. Thank you very much.
Come on. Don't leave them hanging like that.
I wrapped it up with a bow. I was done.
I think your site is really interesting. And I actually had a little bit of difficulty finding the book area because it's not in the top nav, right? So
I agree. It's kind of hidden at this moment, and I'm actually revamping my entire brand around the speaking part of my life at this point.
Got it.
So you'll expect when you go back to look at it again in another month or so, 2 months, you're going to be quite surprised at the difference that's going on there. But after what I'm hearing today, that book page is coming back to the top.
Okay, I don't want to end here, sorry, Doug, without mentioning next week is our last in this series. We did an 8-week summer series. Now we're doing a fall series. And at that one, we want to kind of have everyone there to share what they've gained from this series. I think one of the things I want to add to some of the bullet points that we've already created for that last session is as we go into 2022, it's really up to all of you how we approach that. Do we want to continue doing this once a quarter? If we go into a winter session, what do you think that should look like? What would benefit you? We need your input. I'm going to keep the list of authors going. If you run across authors, Global Chamber authors, while you've attended various Zoom things, please send those names over to me. I'm keeping a log going for Doug, and I'll be sending that to him soon as a resource. But come next week, celebrate the series. Let us know what you've learned, how you've benefited, and certainly what can we do for you on behalf of the Global Chamber going into 2022. I want to thank Dana and Professor Ancis for amazing information during this session, and all of you who also contributed. Thank you so much. Anybody else have a comment they would like to make? You've got a minute, 2 minutes.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this panel, and we will continue to support it because there is added value.
And I want to thank everybody, and especially you, Doug. a good friend of a number of years, for the opportunity to be able to have such an illustrious group of people with incredible expertise, incredible experience. I mean, I've done so much learning in these past weeks. And I would say my only suggestion is, because this has got tremendous value. I mean, there are groups like the Screen Actors Guild in Los Angeles with about 12,000 different writers that need help. So I'm simply saying that whenever we're doing the next series, I would really like to be part of whatever committee is for the marketing up front of the series.
And anyone else you want to be paneled or one of our experts, like Lainey and Dwayne got right on the bandwagon when I started to talk about a fall one. They were right there. I thought, okay, I'll take you. Anybody else that wants to, just let me know, because I don't want to do this all by myself. I love the community. I love the author community. And for me, that's the big win for me is having developed and being part of an author community. And with that,
I think I would be remiss if I didn't and extend a personal invitation to those who want to write their next book or their first one to our writers conference next week in Puerto Rico. It's not too late, and you get a chance to be in wonderful tropical climates. But we are a team here, and Global Chamber, and it's been my experience that we help business owners, authors, CEOs go higher. And that's what it's all about, connecting and then going higher.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you, Gloria.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Good day, guys.
Bye-bye.
And go to the Global Chamber YouTube channel. This all has been recorded.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
I want that book, Jacqueline.
Let me know.
Bye.